So now we're gonna take apart an injection valve from a Grundfos dosing pump, a Grundfos DDA, DDC, DDE. This is a typical check valve. Different materials are naturally used, so it may not be exactly the same color, but the components should be relatively close to most styles of injection valves for the Grundfos pump. So this portion here is 1/2-inch pipe thread, and I just got a bushing here, just a PVC bushing, just to kind of show you that, you know, it'll thread on there with some Teflon tape on there and on your bushing or whatever, and then it'll thread right into your T-fitting such as that. You'll have to cut this stem off at whatever length it needs to be, and typically cut it off at an angle so that it's the water flow, you know, doesn't exactly hit it. So you would cut it off at this angle if the water flow is this way, kind of thing, and try to get it as accurate as you can. So when you've got this piped into your system, you're going to depressurize your system and just simply unthread this portion. This long stem portion can stay intact. There's really nothing there. It just threads out. It's an O-ring seal, so no Teflon tape required. There's, you can see right through it. So that's that assembly. So we'll just set that aside. That stays in your pipe, in essence. That really doesn't need to be taken apart for for any check valve maintenance. So that's your check valve assembly. Now again, as in all those other ones, there's always an arrow. So as you see here, there's an arrow there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pointing that way. Okay. So just a note of reference, just to make a note later on. I don't like digging these O-rings out like this, but I just kind of the dullest tool that I've got handy here. And just kind of it's almost a prying factor. Just try to get it out there as gently as we can. Those two O-rings are the same size, so it doesn't really matter if you get them mixed up or not. So again, this is the arrow is going this way. So that end looks like that, and that end looks like that. Now in this bottom end, you can see where this is where your tubing would be attached, your 1/4-inch tubing, 3/8 tubing from the pump on this end. So as you can see, that ceramic ball, you can see it sitting in there. We're not going to take it apart from this end. This end is intact. It stays intact. It doesn't come apart. We'll take everything apart from this end. So this little cap here, just because it's simple to remember, simply because of the two holes. That's the way I remember it anyways. So what I do is, it's just a little threaded little cap on there, and I've got a small set of needle nose pliers, and I just take it and just grab it and gently turn it. So if you can do that, and you can see there's some small threads on there, fairly coarse threads. They're not real fine, so it's fairly easy to get it back together without damaging too much. And I'll give you some tips later on how to do that. This assembly simply just sometimes you can push it out from the bottom end, but most of the time what I like to do is I like to get in here again with that same needle nose and just pull that assembly out. Now there's no effort at all to get that out. So this assembly again has got an arrow on that assembly, and it's pointing the same direction as this arrow. I don't know if you can pick that up or not. I'm just going to give you a couple different angles so you can see that. So that's what there's your assembly coming out. And as you see, that assembly is empty on this assembly here. And we've got a spring and the ceramic ball. And I'm just going to dump them out. I'm just going to put that spring in there, otherwise it'll roll away. There's my ceramic ball. That's probably got some debris on it. And down in here, now there is a seat. Sometimes I can push it out from this end, like I just did. Or if you have to go in here, and you can dig inside this end a little bit too, and find yourself digging it out. But now you can see that assembly is completely empty. There is only, in this injection valve, there is only one check valve, unlike the top and the bottom of the pump, where there's two in each of those. There's two ceramic balls and seats in each one of those assemblies. But in this one, there's only one. So simply to get it back together, it's a lot simpler than what it may appear to be. But what I do is I simply, take this assembly, and I put the seat and everything in this assembly, even though it didn't come out that way. I'll put the spring in, and I'll put the ceramic ball on top of that spring. And this rubber seat, it does not appear to be different in slopes, in styles, in sides. You can flip it over whichever way you want. That ceramic ball is going to seat on that side or that side. So if one side gets a little soiled or a little damaged, you can probably try flipping it over and see if you can manufacture and keep it together that way. So again, I just stuck that seat in there, and it seats halfway. You can see that, it doesn't go all the way down. And just simply going to slide this back in this assembly. And again, look at the arrows. The arrow is going there. So this arrow is going to match that arrow. And I'm going to put it in just like that. And it just slides in, no effort. Snaps in there. Now, you got to make sure it snaps in, because otherwise you won't get this little thread started. And the way I do this, and I try to do most of my threading into plastic and re-threading into plastic, whether it's a screw or a bolt or I'll always turn the whole thing backwards until I hear a kind of a click like that. And then I know it's not going to get cross-threaded and get back in there. So you just snug it up. Doesn't have to be real tight. And reinstall your O-rings. Now this O-ring always fits snug, and it's just the nature of the beast. That's the way that's designed and engineered. It's a good design. It's a great design. I'm really a fan of Grundfos dosing pumps, because they are, as far as I'm concerned, the DDA is the Cadillac of dosing pumps. So again, you're wondering, okay, I got this thing back together. Now which way do I put it back into here? Well, I can put it in like this or like this. Same threads on both ends, but look at the arrow. There's your arrow. And the arrow's pointing up, and that's the pipe. That's the direction of flow that we're going to have going into that assembly. So simple as that. And there's your check valve cleaned and repaired and ready to go back